Tell us about what it was like when you reached the end of your cancer treatment. Tell us about, how you knew it was the end. How did it feel? And then even looking back years, like it's been, do you still have concerns, fears, thoughts about it coming back? How do you deal with those emotions? And tell us a little bit about that, please.
And I went to the clinic for my last follow-up, and they basically gave me a T-shirt. And the T-shirt just said finish line. That was kind of the symbolic end of the treatment. And I actually took that T-shirt. It was just a white T-shirt with finish line and a person crossing the finish line. And I wore that T-shirt all throughout my football years. So when I was playing middle school and high school football, I wore that T-shirt. It ended up being just a rag by the end time I was done with that whole process there. But it was a very loved T-shirt that I had. And I didn't think about cancer much after that. I went off to college, and that was kind of the end of my cancer experience. I felt it was all in my past and everything. Eventually, I learned that there are things you can't ignore. There's things that will always be a part of you and a part of your story. That's that process. And every now and then I do wonder if some pain I have in my back or some nausea sensation or something that could be a tumor. I know there's always that risk that's always going to be there. It's the back of your mind. I don't live my life thinking about it all the time. But one of the ways that I deal with that is that if I ever am worried that I have a recurrence of my cancer, the odd thing about it was that this cancer produced HCG hormone, the pregnancy hormone. And so I have on more than one occasion bought a pregnancy test just to check to see if there's any recurrence of the tumor. And it's something that I've done a handful of times just to make myself either feel better or eat less of my worries. But it works. It makes me feel better if I can just check.
It became my life. Going to the hospital and this regimen of chemo became my life, and everything was out of our control. And that was something that was very controlled. Like, we knew that this week we were scheduled to go in for methotrexate. The next week we were scheduled to go in for ifosfamide or whatever the next one was. And so that linear, protocol of my treatment was very much what we were clinging to. And so as much as we were like counting down the last one, when the last one came, it was like, now what? Like, I was afraid to start this treatment because it changed who I was, and now I'm a different person, and now we're ending this treatment, and now what do I do? I felt happy and relieved and thankful, but I also felt really scared again, but in a different way. Like, where do I go from here? And I remember my mom and I getting in the car and just crying. Like, do we just go home and order pizza? Like, what do we do? This is so strange, And so yeah, it was a mix of a lot of different emotions, and a lot of them were complete opposite emotions, just kind of colliding. It was a very, very strange experience to end treatment. I do have a lot of fears. Every time I have a lump or a pain or anything, I've really had to learn to advocate for myself and to go in and to really explain it and to tell my story again and to tell my history. And I found that when I do share my history with cancer, that doctors take it very seriously. And so they do take that next step of doing a scan or something like that, which I'm thankful for. But it's something that I do really wrestle with every day, honestly, is that anxiety of, I know I'm not invincible anymore. I know my future isn't promised to me. And now that I have a child, it's my worry for her. And every bump I see on her, now it's a struggle, constant struggle.
So Liam was actually supposed to be done with treatment in September of this year. And based on some recent research and data collection and comparing to another type of leukemia, they had concluded that the last year of therapy was maybe more unnecessarily harmful than it was helpful. So we went into an appointment and we discussed it, and they said, okay, well, today can be the last day if you'd like. And so it was we had a countdown. We had a countdown, and then it ended up being sooner. And it was, and then also with the pandemic going on right now, we really haven't had a good celebration. So I feel like right now it hasn't been good closure yet. Maybe once we are able to get together with people then and celebrate it, then it'll feel more real. But so far he's gone in every month for a CBC, and now this will be our longest time not going in for 2 months, which is scary because now that he's not taking any medications, any chemotherapies, it's scary. It's scary. Like it was this, I don't know, it's a lot.
It's like the farther you go from ending, the more scary it's
Yeah.
been thus far.
Yeah. And I received his roadmap for all of his after treatment follow-ups, and it goes through his senior year of high school, it's overwhelming. But yeah.